Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'd like to reopen our meeting in regular session. May I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, everybody. Tonight we are going to have a presentation from the class of 2016. How should we do this? Should we have them come up?
Yes.
Okay, do you want them?
Ms. Reinemo, right around here.
I was wondering why these girls were here.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Hi. Thanks for coming.
Ask them how they're doing.
How are they
How they're
doing?
enjoying college.
I know.
I think it's close enough.
Thank you very much for coming tonight. It's very exciting to have you here.
Thank you. So we made a couple of donations to local charities, and we wanted to extend sort of our gratitude towards everybody who's helped us get through our high school and our middle school. So we have another $1,000 donation to the Friends of Nantucket Public School for you guys.
Wow. Thank you. How generous.
Now, I can just maybe editorialize that the class of 2016 did an amazing job of fundraising. They were downright wealthy at the end, and so Logan and I had spoken, and we thought, they've given to so many different aspects of the community and the schools that we wanted to have you come in. Can you talk to them about maybe some of the other gifts that you gave out?
So we donated to the counseling center, and I'm blanking on the names, right? The different places right now. It's on the list, right?
Yeah.
I think it's
It was
under
on the previous meeting.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Don't worry, Mom is coming.
I figured Mom was coming.
All right, thank you. All right, so we made $1,000 donations to Fairwinds, which is the Behavioral Health Center, the Food Pantry, Safe Place, the Marla Seeley Lamb Foundation, and the Harvey Foundation.
Wow, great. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we're all interested to know how you guys are doing. Can you give us a little update?
Yeah, okay, I guess. I'm doing well. I'm at Boston University studying chemistry at the moment. I might be switching into mechanical engineering, that's why it's at the moment. But I'm having a lot of fun, I love the people, and it's been great to be in Boston.
Very exciting.
Do you want to step up to the mic?
No, I'm really enjoying it. I'm at Bates in Lewiston, Maine, and I'm pretty overwhelmed with all the opportunities, and I'm tentatively studying neuroscience and English, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Wow.
That's great.
I'm studying at Wesleyan University. I'm enjoying it, enough, and I'm tentatively studying bio and English at the moment.
I'm a marketing major at Providence College, and things are good. It's a lot of work, but I'm happy.
Great.
Hello again. I'm at Villanova. I'm studying nursing, and it's been really, really good. I'm having a lot of fun. We're number 1 in the country right now in terms of basketball, so y'all should watch us. We'll be in the end.
Thank you.
I'm at USC in Los Angeles, and I'm double majoring in narrative studies and American studies and ethnicity, and I'm having a good time.
Wow.
Okay, besides having a good time, how do you feel you were prepared? That's the question.
Well, the homework definitely hits you hard.
Month the first couple weeks I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? And then I kind of was like, I have to make my own routine now. I don't have such a built schedule as I did in high school where you wake up, go to school, go to practice, go home, and repeat. So that was an adjustment, but by the end I feel like I was kind of getting into a groove. So we'll see how that goes when I come back.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, if you're still in school in January, you basically haven't figured out. I mean, it gets easier from there, but it's interesting to go from a small pond into finding a lot of kids that are as bright or brighter than you are, and the expectations are a little different.
Not as much hand holding for sure.
That's right.
Two C's, two D's, and an E at mid-year.
The level of reading and writing, I'm
confidence.
guessing that the amount of reading is exponentially more than what you had. Have you been well equipped for the writing that you've been required to do, which is something I typically hear a positive from our students?
Yeah, I definitely found that, especially with the, I mean, even if you aren't that well equipped, I think there are so many resources that you can find that will really get you up to speed very fast.
Yeah, I really like the writing center at Villanova. I've been there a lot, but they've really helped me. So
That's great. Oh, we're so happy for you guys. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very
It's a
much.
stellar group.
Good luck.
That is a rock star group.
That is a rock star group. All right, moving on to our CPS project-based learning presentation. Could we please have Alice and Adrian come and introduce their group? Absolutely. And do you have a slideshow for us, or
some
slides? Sure. Okay, we'll go sit down.
Scooch over one. Move. Move already. Scooch a chair and wait for me. Come on. Okay.
Well, thank you for having us back. We brought some company with us this time, and this is probably our first time at school committee, girls? Yeah. So we have just finished our first official unit in our project-based learning class at CPS. It's actually renamed now. It's not any longer PBL, but Unique is our new class name, and that was part of our first unit. So a few of you had the opportunity to come, well, you all did, but a few of you made it out for our first exhibition night, which was in December, and basically I'll let the girls speak a little bit. We're in partial groups. We had a couple of sick ones today. So basically what we have done for our first unit, and Alice, please jump in. Sure. But we have the teams, the 7th and 8th grade students were challenged with renaming our class. And so it was a unit called the Team Name Campaign. And the objective was really to look at marketing strategies, advertising, persuasive writing, and data collection, and how all that information pretty much, I guess, morphs and takes hold of the world around us, and names, and how things kind of are successful. And their challenge was to rename our class, and they had to do some research. The math piece was the gathering data, creating surveys, working with the public, the community, as well as our students in gathering information and data, and then manipulating that data to help make their decisions. So I'm going to let these guys talk a little bit. We have our Unique was our overall winner, although Rope placed in our evaluations. We had basically our exhibition looked like a lot of these with groups mixed in 7th and 8th graders, and we had a panel of judges from the community. We had Grace Bartlett, who I believe is a senior.
Jason Bridges from the Handlebar Cafe, Marjan, I can never think of how to pronounce her last name, thank you, and Jed Williams from the high school. They were our panel of judges, so they came in a half hour early and went around and interviewed each group. There were 15 total, and they took in all the information. They had kind of a rubric, so to speak, or evaluation chart to fill out, and they ranked and chose their winner, and that was essentially the winner that we went with. But we also had a popular vote and in-house vote as well. So I'll let kind of the girls talk. We've got Catherine, our 7th graders are Catherine and Emma, and our 8th graders are Rennie and Waverly, and they're not together, although they're sitting together. They are mixed groups of 7th and 8th graders. So, Unique, do you guys want to start?
Sure.
Go ahead, Waverly.
What am I supposed to talk about?
Just tell them what your, kind of how you guys came up with your brand, your slogan, your logo, and how that data impacted the decision making.
Okay, well, Emma, help me. Okay,
Well,
well,
like,
Interject for a minute. Pretend I was at the exhibition.
yeah,
Just give us the demonstration as if we were standing there and you were at the exhibition again. Can you do that?
kind of. Okay, so Unique is kind of like, or PBL, it's like project-based learning, so it's kind of based off how you are like as a learner and like how you collaborate and work with others. And it's like a unique class because project-based learning, it's like a type of learning, so it's kind of like new and catching on and becoming more popular, so it's like still kind of like a unique and different way to learn. And since the class is like focused on how you learn and it's like a unique class, we thought up of the name Unique, which is spelled out like Y-O-U for you, and then Unique. So yeah, that's just behind the
And
name.
then how did you, with the data, like explain a little bit about the surveys, and anyone can kind of jump in.
So when we were doing the surveys, we first created the survey and tried to figure out things that we needed to come up with the name, logo, and slogan. And then we sent an email out to parents, people in the community, and teachers in their classes. And then once we got our data, we used our data to come up with our name, logo, and slogan. For instance, the most popular color was blue, so we used a lot of blue.
Good. What else?
Well, our logo, it's 2 whales. One of them is like the bigger one and the smaller one is being held up by it. It's supposed to like symbolize how the class and the teachers like lift you up as a learner and like bring out like your better qualities to make you like overall the best you can be. And then the whale is like you.
And your slogans, learn your way.
Yeah, because of what I've felt.
And Rope, what about you guys? What did you come up with?
So basically, like, our name is Rope, and from our data, we found that it was basically a tie between a acronym or just like a word that could stand by itself. So we chose the word Rope, and it means research, organization, persevere, and engage. The other thing behind like the word rope is that a rope is obviously like an intertwined piece of cord made up by several different strings. So each string represents each individual student, while the rope, all said and done, like that's our whole class and it represents us. Our slogan, our logo, we kept it like, we wanted to keep it very like simple and just like gets the point across, I guess. So we have a circular rope type of image and then just the word rope, because from our data we also found that people just wanted something that was like clear and just simple. And then our slogan is leading and learning, and the thought behind that was that we acquire so many different skills from this class, which will not only help us later in life, but just our schooling years. So we'll always be leading with the knowledge we've gained and then while still learning, I guess. That makes
Nice job, ladies.
Good job.
Good job.
So we don't have a slideshow. We do have a website that we are working on constantly, but we do have a gallery where it has kind of our
There's Evan. It's my grandpa.
what? Some images, and these are our groups that it's pretty amazing to see what the kids came up with. And maybe Alice, if you want to talk about the correlating part in terms of the math. I don't know if we'll have sound, but once the panel of judges left, oh no, it didn't come on.
Go.
Is there
hit the
another-
other tab? It might be on that one.
We
more?
We opened it up for kind of the floodgates of parents to come into. So it was, sorry.
No, go up to the top. Nope.
Here?
Nope. Sorry.
Oh, I gotcha. Anyway, I put a video up, but I don't see it.
It's under more over here. See if it's in this gallery. Where was it published? Oh yeah, here it is.
So this kind of gives like a idea of the exhibition process that we'll plan on doing for each. Each unit or the end of each trimester. And
Here it is.
it was pretty lively. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're in the middle of transitioning into our next unit. We did go through our first round of, I guess, report cards, so to speak. And we're using, yeah, you might want to. We're using a little bit of a different format. It's more standards based, but we're using a website called Jump Rope, where we're able to align each assignment to a number of different standards. It's tough to see, but this is a sample of kind of what went home with the kids and their parents. For their report card, they got a pass-fail on in their Aspen, but this kind of went, not only, you can't quite see, but there's a section on the bottom that has oh, maybe it wasn't on there, but
Yeah, the character.
The character, kind of they evaluate themselves in terms of habits of work, and so these resources are available for the parents, but we also kind of inform them and walk them through the change, I guess, in the evaluation piece of the class. That's kind of all we have, unless anyone has some questions.
Presenting. Can I just ask if there are any questions for you while you're still there?
So is it like math and English together?
It's 8th grade math and 7th grade English. So my 8th graders, this is in place of their math class. They're doing their math through this class. And the same thing in 7th grade. This is their English class. And it's been a great opportunity. A lot of people question the multi-grade level, but that has actually been one of our biggest bonuses. And it's truly learning from each other. It's not the 8th graders dragging the 7th graders. It is a full-on collaboration, and the presentation night was loud, but if you were to go by our 2 classrooms during the day, you would see that we're pretty loud during the day too. So.
This is like awesome.
Thank you.
I heard about it before, but I didn't really understand it, but this is sweet. Like I wish it was there when I was in.
you would have been great at it, Sierra.
How do you ensure, this is a question that I've been asked by a parent, how do you ensure that the kids in your class are still covering the standards that you're responsible for teaching in 8th grade math, or you're responsible for teaching in 7th grade English ELA? Because this can be a time-consuming process.
I mean, it's just the way we've designed the units. Alice has been, I guess would be a little more dictated by the 8th grade math curriculum in terms of progression and what kind of needs to be covered at certain times. And, you know, it's been like pretty, not easy, but it's just been pretty organic. You know, the standards are the standards and we know them very well. And so it's just our job to, I mean, we are incorporating them in our year plan. You know, we're heading into, this was a pretty heavy, you know, informational text, persuasive writing piece, little light on literature, and we're heading into a bridge building unit where the metaphoric comparison will be a personal journey, and the kids will be reading a variety of personal journey pieces of literature, and so it's just a balance and making sure, you know, those power standards are getting repeated throughout, and you know, as we said to the kids, especially with the 8th graders and the 7th, it is a little bit different in terms of the math. You know, the 8th graders, there is a certain level of expectation of mastery of those 8th grade math standards, and it's okay if our 7th graders are in the 2 area of, you know, progressing towards. And similarly, but different, you know, the English language arts standards, a lot of them, we'll see them again as we you know, spiral through the year. For the scatter plots and the correlating the data, this is kind of the one time that they'll be really focused on those standards. So I don't know if that answers your question. But
I was going to say the same thing I would do in all my other classes. You have your standards and you're writing your units, and I mean, I'm a check mark person, so I have my standards and I put a check every time we touch on them. We took like about 10 days of classes where we're separate right now, and I'm using that time to teach some of the 8th grade standards that won't be in a particular unit. For example, exponents. None of our units in PBL are going to really hit that, so I'm using that time to touch on those things.
Yeah.
You know,
And same.
we're supplementing.
Yeah.
and
it's the way our schedule works too. It's actually, we've made it work nicely where there's one day a week that we meet with our project-based learning kids, but at different times. So I use that time as an opportunity to work in Edgar Allan Poe, which I always love, and I love that middle schoolers have that exposure to Poe. So when we were separate, we would work on that, and Alice would do things that, you know, it's actually worked out really nice. And like Alice said, we've kind of been on a 10-day break. We'll start back next week, coming back together with our next unit. So we made it work.
I want to say I'm sorry I missed the presentation, but which ones are 7th graders? Who are the 7th graders? So tell me, how did you guys feel at first? Were you intimidated working with the 8th graders, and now how you feel?
I really liked it. I felt like the 8th grade math was actually easier than the 7th grade math at the moment.
Yeah, I at first I was kind of excited because I wanted to challenge myself to something that wasn't in my grade, like 8th grade math and like best line of fit and like scatter plots. I was kind of excited to learn about that. And then over the time, like we were working together and like I was actually pretty excited and I was really happy about this. So.
In this group, actually, these girls are the only 8th graders. Waverly was on a group with 3 other 7th graders, and Rennie with 2 other 7th graders. And it's been really, really cool to see them collaborate and work together. I think for me, that's been one of the most rewarding parts.
I want to say nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I think we were going down the line. Oh, I guess I didn't, not enough. I was able to come and chat with you before all the parents arrived, so it was a great opportunity to, I don't think I got around most of the room. A question that I asked you that evening, and I'd love for you to sort of answer for the group to hear. What are some of the things that you've learned working in this group, working with 7th and 8th grade students? What have you learned about how others learn or how a group learns together? Have you noticed any differences outside of your regular classes on how people learn or how people have different strengths? Or
I've found that like in PBL, it's more of like a personalized learning, I guess.
But then there's all the teamwork. So
Yeah.
like you just take your own strengths and you add them to your like peer strengths, and then you just like can combine all that, and it's really like I feel like it.
It also like another thing is like we said, like a lot of the work is very hands-on and it's super like creative, and you can like obviously design something that you know it's super hands-on, and so I think it's like it's more engaging for students to have that like opportunity to learn in a different form that isn't just your average math class or just like a basic English class where it's like there's more
collaboration.
Yeah, like collaboration and creativity towards
And everyone, like, when everyone is, like, contributing ideas, like, you're all creating, like, something with all these different, like, since everyone thinks so differently, you have such varied opinions that you really have to, like, consider, and working with others is kind of hard sometimes because you have such different opinions and ideas, but then eventually you can, like, put all your best ones together and come out with, like, the best project.
a great skill to learn in life, because it just continues to do that as you get older.
Yeah.
Very well said. Thank you.
I just wanted to add, you guys are very well spoken for middle schoolers. I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you, Sierra.
Thank you, Sierra.
Thank you.
Can I just ask Adrian and Alice, the students that are in 7th grade, will they continue into the class? If this continues on to next year, will the 7th grade automatically re-enroll back in the class, or will you open the selection up?
It is an opt-in, so the ones who are in it, if they wanted to stay, would have that first choice.
I think we were hoping just to get through the first grading period and see what, kind of the dust to settle, and we'll work with Peter and Donna to see what the vision is for next year. We proposed it as a 2-year program, so that the intent is for our 7th graders to stay in, and then what that looks like for maybe other 7th graders or incoming 8th graders potentially, or incoming 7th graders. We're still kind of working out what that looks like, and I think the schedule is pending a little bit. We're pending more on the schedule.
And just before you go, would you just talk about the selection process and maybe talk about how many students, did you have more? Because last time you were back here, we didn't know what the interest was going to be, and I'm just curious, how much of an interest did you have? Did you have students who couldn't get in, and how did you work that selection process?
We did. We presented to, we started with our principals and then on to Mr. Kozort, and then came to the school committee, and then went with our staff. So we presented to our buildings first, and then we held a parent night with a great great showing that night. And it was an opt-in. If they wanted to, there was a form they filled out to opt in. Everybody who opted in, their names went to the teams. So the 6th grade team had the list of names for all the 6th graders who were opting into the program. So the 6th grade team met with the specials teachers, and they then looked at the students and decided who would best fit into this program. And we capped it at 24, 25
So those students were
Per
placed,
grade level.
Yeah, per grade. Those students were placed on the list, and then we had a waiting list with students ranked so that if they dropped off, who would be the next in. And the same process with our 7th graders. If they opted in, the 7th grade team of teachers met with our specials encore teachers and discussed who would best fit into this program and created a class list, and we had a waiting list for those as well.
And that's hard. That's a hard. I mean, when you hear like who would best fit, it doesn't necessarily mean it's our, our strongest top students. It's just when we're thinking about project-based and hands-on learning, a lot of it has to do with independently driven students and also students that might benefit from more of an unconventional way of taking in the content. So, we have a very diverse group of students in both grade levels in terms of, academic ability, creativity,
learning
style. The style of hands-on versus, needing to get up and roam around and really what I've seen in a few parent meetings this year, it's almost like I feel like I'm coming in as the PE teacher. Students might, be fidgety in other classes and teachers are struggling with, but they're doing okay in the environment because it's just that's naturally built in, and so they're accessing the curriculum differently, and it works for them. So, I think we had about 20 on our wait list, and so we felt like it wasn't quite enough for another section, and that would have looked like a little different with the schedule because it wouldn't meet as regularly. So it's hard to say no to parents, especially when, like we said, you're just saying, well, the team didn't think it wasn't necessarily that they didn't fit, it was just the numbers. Really, I would say, I don't think we had anyone on our list that, wouldn't benefit from any kind of learning. I think all of our kids would. It was really just down to numbers. And we're at 46 right now, and typically we're in one room until we disperse. And Mrs. Crowley's made a few last-minute Amazon purchases for stools, and we've got stacks of them, and we just it's like a moving situation as we first come in, and then they kind of disperse into different rooms. And for this particular unit, we kind of had 2 groups, and I had a group of 7th and 8th graders in my room, and that was their home base, and vice versa. So we could watch them kind of work, and we were in charge of that group versus, both of us being in charge of everyone. So.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to ask Dr. Thorne.
So, first, girls, you did great, and I applaud both Mrs. Lombardi and Mrs. Crowley for taking this challenge on. It's a lot of extra work for them, and it's paying off. And the feedback's been tremendous. What we're going to do is over the next couple of months, and by sometime in March, we're going to meet over that time. By sometime in March, we'll make some decisions about the future of the program. Do we continue with just one section? Do we expand it to a couple? We'll make all those decisions over the next few weeks. And again, by March, so that we can, if we need to have additional parent nights, to have parents and kids opt in for a new 7th grade group, we can do that. And so if there are 2 groups, for example, potentially there's kind of 2 tracks, but that is potentially pretty daunting for the 2 teachers because you want to make sure that you don't have 8th graders doing the same kinds of projects 2 years in a row. So all of that needs to be worked out. That's our challenge that we're confronting in the next few weeks.
Great, well, thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you. Let me get out. Who's that?
right, moving on to our district report card. Can we have Michael come up?
Sure.
Thank you. Do you want to come to the podium?
I can. There's no slides or anything, but I can make the first.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds great. Thank you.
So my name is Michael Horton. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Assessment for STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. And
I'm Jean Witt. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Assessment for Humanities, English, Language Arts, and Social Studies.
so we have a little bit of a different type of presentation tonight. It's regarding the annual district report card. And I say different or interesting because we're here to inform the committee what has already been done and also show you what could be done in the future. So any district that receives federal dollars through Title I funds, Title I grant, is required to share out key information and statistics to parents and the community. You may have seen in the past on the horizon in the school committee packet how the district report card was in the parking lot for a long time, for many months. I was always curious, where are we going with that? And entering this new role in the central office, I found out that we have always published through each building principal a kind of stock annual report card from each individual school. So in your packet, you'll see two versions. The first version that has the Mass DSE logo and title on the top is the template that the state provides, along with a kind of stock cover letter. This is what we shared with all parents at the elementary school, all parents at the middle school, all parents at the high school on December 23rd. The requirement was to get this out by the end of December, and this is all information from last school year. So similar to like the town report, it's always the previous fiscal year that you're talking about. So this is information from last July 1st up through June 30th of 2016. As you know, PARC results, MCAS results come out in September, October. Shortly after that, the state releases this information in November. Around that time, Mr. Kozort shared me a few examples of how things were done up in Shaker at his previous district. And there are a couple different versions of a newsletter type 4-page template up to a glossy kind of brochure and pamphlet really outlining not just key details on student performance and enrollment, but also accolades where teachers were recognized in certain awards, athletic achievements, community profiles, college acceptances. So after the first few examples, which is what was done, okay, you'll see what we're going to kind of just share with you and get your feedback over the next few months, hopefully, and you can think about it, is a new example or model of what could be done. And if you look at this, you'll recognize a lot of the slides. Most of these slides were pulled from some of Martin's presentations, some of Mr. Kozart's presentations, either some of Abby's presentations or our presentations on statistics, and really pulled everything from the state together and added financial information, grant information, some more visual charts, something to spruce it up a little bit to make it a little bit more exciting and invigorating for parents. The project grew and grew. So we got to a point in December when we were looking at budgets that, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get this to the school committee and have you guys see the extent of this before we go public to all the parents. So we kind of want to give you the heads up that this is something that we think is a good idea for the future, that we can move from the kind of stock, fairly mundane state example to something that basically sums up the entire year. It's in there. But you'll notice athletics are not presented. We could add athletics. At one point, the strategic plan was part of this document, which doubled the length of this document. These are some questions that we have that we want to kind of pose to you, which is why this is kind of an interesting type of presentation. Something that hasn't been done yet. We're looking for your input and your feedback. Doesn't need to be tonight, but I'm sure you all might have some immediate feedback. But for next fall, would we want to move into something like this that's much more comprehensive, that also, my favorite part is it ends on a positive note, and it shares all the college acceptances for the previous class. Technology could be included, community profile of what Nantucket is known for could be included. So kind of the sky's the limit, but when this report kind of grew and grew, I kind of called the time out and said, it's a lot of information to kind of cram out to parents by holiday break. So we went with the typical report we've done in the past. Those copies are also available at the front offices of each building, as well as at the central office on First Way. And we'll be dropping some off at the Athenaeum, at the town building, other, community, maybe Boys and Girls Club, other places. So number one, to inform you what has been done, but also to kind of showcase what this could grow into and what we might look for next year. Jean may have something to add for her piece as well.
Even beyond the information that's here, in some of the examples that we looked at, they had profiles of each of the schools, and they talked about some of the interesting things that were happening. Something like the project-based learning might be highlighted for the year at CPS as something that came to fruition, and talk about how that helped. So you're looking at highlighting the unique aspects of a community. And it's almost like a brochure for the community as well. Maybe we could actually learn something from the project-based learning students about rebranding and imaging. Marketing.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I love this. For me, if I was given the opportunity to, choose, I think this definitely seems a lot more complicated, and I feel that naturally most parents might just push it aside. This is so much more appealing, I think, to me. I mean, and it's so much more informative and more information that I would be excited to read about. This, to me, is very statistical, and the format I think it's hard for parents to sit through, if you want my opinion. So I'm very excited about this new plan and the new format.
I also think it's a piece that could be tied into the school improvement plans and our strategic plan for the district, so that we make sure that we keep all of these things as a living document, that it's not just something that's done and then put up on a shelf as being done.
Right.
But we keep referring back to this.
Thank you.
I'll just tag on to what Jen said. I think that one of the things that we get tripped on a little bit is state reports, test score reports, and we see them in isolation, not in a more holistic view. And I think that's what you're trying to create with this document, which is, I think, paints a really nice picture. I'd like to sit with it a little bit, because I do think that the idea of having some narrative that puts some of these goals and strategies for improvement in context will go a long way to not just giving information out, but the sort of unified message behind what that information is and what the district is doing with that information. But I do really value and appreciate a more holistic document that captures all of the different ways we're assessing our students' progress.
It's amazing, sometimes just a little bit larger font, what that does. A few more visual graphs, what that does. But you're absolutely right. One of our biggest questions, how much information is too much information?
Yeah.
At the same time, how much explanation is going to be needed underneath various charts and pieces of information in there?
The thing I want to add to that, Michael, is that you just need just enough narrative so that anyone off the street can understand it. That's what's important. I absolutely love your report, too. It's got a nice combination of pie graphs and charts and the numbers, and I love the font, of course, because I'm totally blind. But, yeah, a narrative, quick one-pager with some of the information that she mentioned here would be truly helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim?
I just would echo what you've said. I mean, one is intelligible, the other one is a mishmash, brought to you by the state.
Pauline?
Yep, no, I agree. I think it's great for transparency purposes.
Yes.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
I would love, and maybe it's here, but I didn't see it. I'd love to get the ELL statistics on. I know it's not flepped anymore, but I'd love to see the students as they've graduated or gone through our system and how we've been able to support those students, because I think that A, it's a conversation that's in our community, but B, it would be a great thing, because I think we do a great job in our district supporting students through, so that would be.
Yeah, and I think it will be easier to do that in the future because now going forward, students who are former English learner, so it's FEL, is the new acronym, but they are, we're tracking those students for at least 4 years post-exiting ESL services. So we will get a truer picture of how they're doing in the long run.
But no, I think this is terrific. I mean, this is something we can really
sink our teeth into.
Understand and get the information that they're looking for here. So thank
Absolutely.
you. This must have been a ton of work.
I was just pulling it all together,
It
really.
was more his baby. So I
If
do
I
have
can
to
just
defer
add
to him
to
on
that,
that.
when the principals shared their test scores and there was some narrative, I mean, there was a lot more narrative than you'd want to put in it, but there were some of the takeaways, here's the 4 things we're going to focus on next year. I think that's to Zona's point, the layman term narrative of, we see science needs attention at the elementary school, and in the coming years, here's what we're doing right now, and here's our goals for the coming year. Just something that gives a little bit of information that we see where the strengths are, we see where the weaknesses are, and here's what we're doing about it. That's it. Such an important part of the conversation, I think.
So it also functions really as a data profile, and where it's placed right now on each school's website is right next to the school improvement plan.
Great.
So it's kind of like supposed to drive, and hopefully people would click on one and then go to the next.
Yep. Yeah. Excellent.
The last thing I need to say is that as a practical person, I love the fact that all the information is in one location.
Yes.
How many different times I get emails or a phone call or visitors say, hey, what are your AP scores? Or what's your enrollment update? And many times I find myself, if I'm not searching on our own website or the state website, I'm trying to find the right, screenshot. I'm looking back through school committee minutes and notes because I know that Mr. Kozer has shared that, or Glenn or Martin shared that, or Jeremiah shared that. Or the AP scores, that's where John shared it, and that's where I can find it.
Yeah.
So the fact that everything's in one place is really
No, it's
interesting
re-
and
it's
really,
really
I think,
important.
practical.
Yeah.
It's great. Easy from a high school.
It's great.
Easy and interesting.
Yeah. Like.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the time you've put into this. Thank you. All right, any comments from the public tonight? No comments. Moving on to committees, discussions, and votes to be taken. May I have a vote to approve the gift donation to Nantucket Community School from Remain, Nantucket, in the amount of $12,500 to adult education enrichment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have a vote to approve gift donations to Class 2017 deposited to Nantucket High School Activity Account, December Delight? I'm going to read through all of these with the amounts. Longfin LLC in the amount of $750. Crossrip Development Corp. in the amount of $500. Cape Cod 5 Savings in the amount of $250. Toscana Corporation in the amount of $500. The Juice Bar in the amount of $500. Ryder Electric in the amount of $500. Aloisi Corporation in the amount of $500. And the Nantucket Golf Club in the amount of $2,000.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
That is amazing. That is awesome.
Thank you for the community support, right? May I have a vote to approve the gift donation to Nantucket High School gift account on behalf of the Nantucket High School culinary class from Nantucket Wine and Food in the amount of $5,000?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wow.
It's pretty generous, huh? And may I have a motion to approve the minutes from December 20th, 2016 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to approve transfers and invoices?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Superintendent's report, enrollment update, please.
Start with enrollment. It's actually gone down. I think if you had a chance to review what we handed out, it's gone down about 13 students. On my copy, but I don't see it on this copy, Logan, we had the ins and outs.
You had it in the one that was emailed.
But I can tell you that, because this is something Zona had asked for, at NES, you had 12 withdrawals and 2 new enters. CPS, 0 withdrawals and 0 entries. And the high school, 2 withdrawals and 1 new entry. So that you can see that the biggest difference was at NES. However, I think I heard today that there were 4 new students who will be coming this week. So, you know, you always have to look at this and take it with a grain of salt.
And where we were the year
Right.
ago. What was the NES withdrawal?
12 at NES and 2 new entries.
Thank you.
So, you know, I think of the 4 that are coming in, all are ELL students. Is that what I heard? The new students coming in?
We're doing placement today.
I've got a senior family, got one at the high school today.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So, you know, it's not unusual this time of year, and the withdrawals could reflect people struggling with housing, and sometimes people who may be going with their families back to, you know, El Salvador or Dominican in some cases. So, I think the other topic was the field trip and chaperones. I did hand out to the school committee a revised copy of the policy and regulation. This, because it's not a policy, it's a procedure and regulation, doesn't require a vote, but there were 2 aspects of this regulation and procedure that the policy subcommittee discussed and felt needed to be added. Number 2, a field trip, whether a day trip or an overnight, is an extension of the school day, and all school rules apply to all students and all chaperones, including but not limited to the possession of or consumption of drugs or alcohol. And number 3, in the case of overnight field trips, the building principal shall determine the suitability of all chaperones based on the number of students, their gender, and any special needs they might require. And I hope that that addresses the concerns brought forth by the school committee at an earlier time.
Pauline, do you want to weigh in on that? Does that sound?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It addresses any, gives, you know, puts it in the principal's lap, basically, which is where it belongs. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you. And then budget development, I think really that sort of goes hand in hand with on the horizon. We need to have our budget hearing, which is typically late January. We need to have it at our next regularly scheduled meeting, which is the 17th. So we would open and the budget hearing at 6 o'clock on the 17th, ended at, it's typically 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then go into your regular session. They need to be 2 different sessions. The reason that we're pushing it up earlier is because our FinCom presentation is the 19th of January. And so that's the reason for doubling it up at the meeting on the 17th.
And will that be at 4 o'clock?
No, I think we'll do that at 6.
No, I'm sorry, the FinCom.
Oh, the FinCom on the 19th will be at 4 o'clock, yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
And then as far as on the horizon, I think that would then push the second quarter budget update to maybe the first meeting in February. And I think the committee had talked about having Mike Gervin's class, so I'd like to invite him for the meeting on the 17th. The bullying update is really a long discussion. I'll take your direction on whether you want to have the homework discussion at that January meeting or whether you would prefer to have it in February.
I personally think it's a discussion we can wait until February. Any other comments?
I agree. I'm fine with that.
Okay, then I would put that on the first February meeting. Okay. And I think that's all I had.
Great. Subcommittee work group. Sierra?
So the last day before break, student council put on the annual staff breakfast for the high school and middle school staff, and it went really successful. There was a lot of staff over there, so it was awesome. And everyone was in the festive mood. Everyone was really happy.
Great. Very nice.
Does that make a change?
Very nice. Any upcoming
We
events?
have not met yet since today was the first day back
Mhm.
before break or after break.
Okay.
So we're going to be having a meeting either this week or next week.
All right.
Talk about
Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Nope. Great. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.